Yeah, I'm going to find Mum. Where did she go? Where? My beloved is mine, and I am my beloved's, who browses among the lilies. These words from Shir HaShirim, the Songs of Songs.
Oh
Hariu l'Adonai kol haaretz, itchu v'ranenu v'zameru. Raise a shout to God, all the earth. Break into joyous songs, songs of praise.
May God grant us the gift of peace.
We welcome the Sabbath bride with the words of Lecha Dodi, page 138, 138. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat Kabbalat. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat Kabbalat.
Al Yarish Ben Paretzim
העטרת מעלה, גם בשמחה ובתולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך אדוני לקראת קבלת, בעיני שבת בקבלת. לך אדוני לקראת קבלת, בעיני שבת בקבלת.
In a way, we have just welcomed Shabbat with the singing of Lakado D. But this Shabbat and this week is something that we're going to mark a little bit differently. As we know, during the week, beginning on Wednesday night and through Thursday, our community commemorated Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Memorial Day, which also gives respects not just to those who perished, but those heroes throughout the Shoah that stood firm to show solidarity, to show strength, to do what they could, recognizing the tragedies that were going on around them. And so we will light, before our Shabbat candles, we'll light a memorial candle, and I'll share with you a reading and then a prayer from Hannah Senesh. Remember Hannah Senesh, a beautiful young woman who died so tragically, but with her heart looking forward to the future. And so we kindle this light in memory of the 6 million Jews murdered by the Nazis and their collaborators. May the memory of the righteous be for a blessing, and we say Zichronam Livracha. May their memories be for a blessing. And as I light the candle, I'll share with you the words from Hannah Senesh. Blessed is the match consumed in kindling flame. Blessed is the flame that burns in the secret fastness of the heart. Blessed is the heart with the strength to stop its beating for honor's sake. Blessed is the match consumed in kindling flame. And so I'd like to invite the Shaw Abbott family to come up and light our Shabbat candles. Or it's just Kirsten coming up in honor of Gilbert becoming a bar mitzvah tomorrow. And so we go from memory to a different kind of memory, to the remembering Shabbat. Amen. Shabbat Shalom. Let's take a moment to turn to those around us, wishing each other a Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Spending a few moments greeting each other, I'd like to welcome those of you who are joining us through our live streaming through the World Wide Web.
and throughout the week. Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharim, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Oavim leShalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni leShalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem leShalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We rise for the Chatzi Kaddish on page 144. 144. Amen. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher b'dvaro ma'ariv arabim, b'chokhma poteach sha'arim ובתבונה משנה עתים, ומחליף את הזמנים, ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו, בורא יום ולילה גולל אור מפני חושך וחושך מפני אור. ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המריב הרבים. ונברא תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם. לבבך, בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברתם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, ופשטתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת עליהם, ועשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורתם, ונתנו על ציצית הכנף בצבתי חלק, והיה לכם לציצית וראיתם אותו, וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם
ואחרי עיניכם אשר אתם זונים אחריהם,
למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, הייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
On page 157, in a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say there is one God in heaven and earth.
The high heavens declare your glory, may earth reveal your justice and love.
From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your ways.
Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Mi kamocha b'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, norati lo ozi melech, norati lo ozi melech, ma'al lechutecha ra'u b'necha, bokei hayam לפני משה ומרים, זאני עלו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ימם במים בריבה, יבבם במים בה, ימם במים בריבה, יבבם במים בה, היירה לילה, יבבם במים בה, היירה לילה, יבבם במים בה. ונאמר כבר אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. ושמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ולשלום, מעתה ועד עולם, מעתה ועד עולם, מעתה ועד הבורא סוכת שלום עלינו, ועל כל עמו ישראל, ועל ירושלים, blessed you, eternal one, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Page 162. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Before we rise for the Amidah on page 164, I'd like to share with you a very short reading from our testimony section in our Yizkor for Yom HaShoah in our Siddur. And these words were found on a cellar wall in Cologne, Germany, written by a person that was clearly hiding from the Nazis. And these are the words. I believe in the sun even when it's not shining. I believe in love even when feeling it not. I believe in God even when God is silent. Let us rise for the Amidah on page 164. Adonai sabatai tivta ufi'ayil tehinatecha baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu Elohei avotinu v'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagimor Ha'anora Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim Nekoneh our prayers of our heart or the words in the page, and we'll come together on page 180.
יהיו לרצון נמריפי והגיון ליבי לפניך, אדוני צורי וגואלי. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, O God, my rock and my redeemer.
And maybe it's not a tradition if you've done it more than once. But what we have chosen to do, recognizing that many of our members are unable to go to the community show event because of various reasons. It's too dark, we're starting to get into winter, it gets a little bit late for some of our older members, and thought that we would commemorate Yom HaShoah and bring Yom HaShoah into the Friday that falls immediately after Yom HaShoah. Just like next week we'll do the same, we call it Shabbat Atzmut. And so in preparation for tonight, I invited Suzanne Hampel, Sue, to share with us a little bit about the work that she has done. Sue is co-president of the Jewish Holocaust Center. She has spent much of her life working in Holocaust and Genesis studies, and in fact has a master's from Monash University in that subject. Sue's also led many tours with March of the Living, But one of the things that I think I felt most touched about when I was reading about you, Sue, is that you were honoured with the Henrik Slavek Award from the Australian Society of Polish Jews and their descendants. And to be so passionate about remembering, and that's what tonight is, and to have your family here, so we welcome you to the Bema, and I know that you are a child of Shoah survivors, and that makes tonight even more special if that is possible. So I invite you warmly with an open heart to share our Bema.
Thank you, Rabbi Kim, for inviting me to be the Darshanit this evening, and it is such an honour to be here. In the Kabbalah, Rabbi Isaac Luria speaks about the impact of creation, a chaos that led to the shattering of vessels, Shverit HaKelim. You all know the story. At the beginning of time, God's presence filled the universe. When God decided to bring this world into being, to make room for creation, he first drew in his breath, contracting himself. From that contraction, darkness was created. And when God said, "Let there be light," the light that came into being filled the darkness. And 10 holy vessels came forth, each filled with primordial light. God sent out those 10 vessels like a fleet of ships, each carrying its cargo of light. Had they all arrived intact, the world would have been perfect. But the vessels were too fragile to contain such a powerful divine light. They broke open, split apart, and all the holy sparks were scattered, like sand, like seed, like stars. Those sparks fell everywhere, and not long after, God created the world so that the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob could gather the holy sparks and retrieve the broken vessels that were dispersed all over the globe. The idea is that when enough sparks are collected, the world will be repaired. For me, the term Tikkun Olam, repairing the world, has become a code phrase linked to a call for healing the terrible things that are happening on our planet. And for me, it's about rebuilding the shattered world of the Holocaust. And let me explain. The Holocaust has always been a pervasive presence in my life. As a young child, I was aware of absent relatives, hushed whispers, and dark secrets. I grew up with faceless names of grandparents, aunts, cousins, and uncles. My father, Andrei Zelig, was an ordinary man. To us, his children, he spoke of the present and of the future. He rarely spoke about the past. As my sister and I grew older, we knew he had endured terrible loss and suffering. We learned that at age 16, he was sent to Auschwitz-Birkenau with 80 members of his family, but only he and his cousin survived the Nazi onslaught. My father's war experiences had a deep impact on my life. He taught me the importance of memory and its transmission to future generations. And this message is so relevant tonight as we commemorate Yom HaShoah. In 1998, I went to Poland for the first time. I discovered a broken and shattered world that once was and no longer is. Gone were the holy communities, the hundreds of shtetls, and the Jewish men, women, and children who once lived there. Gone were the rabbis, Talmudists, and scholars, as well as their libraries filled with sacred books. 1,000 years of Jewish life in Poland, destroyed, vanished, erased. Elie Wiesel, Nobel Prize winner and Holocaust survivor, who was liberated with my father at Buchenwald, believed he was duty-bound to give meaning to his survival and to tell the story of what happened. "Remember," said the father to his son and the son to his friend, "gather the names, the faces and the tears. If, by a miracle, you come out of it alive, try to reveal everything, omit nothing." Remembrance has certainly been one of the motivating factors in my life. Remembrance of those who cannot speak for themselves. If we cannot make up for what was done in the past, we can at least remember those lives that were lost to injustice and evil. We can gather the testimonies of the survivors so that their stories will be engraved on our hearts and in our minds forever. So I became a teacher, an educator, first at Mount Scopus College and now at Monash University. A few years ago, I became co-president of the Jewish Holocaust Centre, a role that I consider to be of the utmost importance as we are entering a transitional phase, moving from living history to historical memory. The Melbourne Holocaust survivors have left us with a legacy to become the witnesses to the witness, and I'm so pleased to see some of our survivors here tonight, including Henry Korn and Mr. Glassman. The good news is that there are tens of thousands of recorded interviews in the Shoah Foundation archives and in our own Jewish Holocaust Centre Testimonies project. This means when there are no longer survivors, we will hear their voices for generations to come. In a world plagued with racism, bigotry, anti-Semitism, we must heed their words and apply what they have told us in order to make their past a better future. Seeking the trail of remembrance has taken me on many journeys, but Rwanda will stay in my heart forever. As we know, Jews were victims of the Holocaust, but the lessons from our tragedy apply to all of humanity. Rwanda is a place reminiscent of the post-Shoah world, with its own broken hearts and broken people. Last month, I was fortunate to be in Rwanda for the 25th anniversary of the commemoration of the genocide against the Tutsi. For anyone involved with Rwanda, or anyone who is attuned to the suffering that has occurred in that country, this is a very solemn time, a time for reflection, empathy, and understanding. 25 years ago, starting on the night of April the 6th, 1994, political and military leaders within Rwanda initiated a series of actions that quickly turned into one of the 20th century greatest mass violations of human rights. For the next 100 days, bands of Hutu men with state and military support swept out across the country, finding, killing, and sometimes raping Tutsi civilians. Over 800,000 people were murdered. That number represents 3/4 of the Tutsi population of Rwanda at the time. In 1994, there was no hope, only devastation and darkness. 25 years later, light has returned to Rwanda. In the words of President Kagame, Rwandans have woven the tattered threads of unity into a new tapestry. Rwanda's road to recovery has been nothing short of miraculous. 62% of Rwanda's parliament is made up of women. The post-genocide Rwanda has achieved remarkable economic growth. Rwanda is now consistently rated by the World Bank as one of the leading places in Africa to start a business. Kigali, the capital, is lined with new and impressive buildings. Socially and culturally, the government has initiated a series of public re-education programs, and above all, the use of ethnic identities like Hutu and Tutsi is forbidden. But what struck me most on that visit to this beautiful East African country, the land of 1,000 hills and 1 million smiles, was the inextricable link to the Jewish people. As I've already mentioned, I think as Jews we have an extra responsibility to find the shattered fragments of light in order to repair the world. So I'd like to tell you 2 amazing things that connect the Jewish people to the land of Rwanda. Firstly, there is a remarkable place in rural Rwanda that takes in young orphans of the genocide. It's called the Agahozo Shalom Youth Village. It is a place of hope, where tears are dried, Agahozo in Kinyarwandam, and where the aim is to live in peace, Shalom in Hebrew. It was founded by the late Anne Heyman, a South African-born lawyer and philanthropist. When Anne learned in 2005 that the Rwandan genocide had orphaned 1.2 million children, she saw a glimpse of salvation in the experience of Israel. When there was a large influx of orphans from the Holocaust, Israel built residential youth villages. Anne used the Yamin Ord Youth Village as a model for the Rwandan project. She raised money to acquire land and build a village of 32 houses for 500 teenagers. The ultimate goal of this village project is to equip young people who have lived through trauma to become healthy, self-sufficient, and engaged in the rebuilding of their nation. 800 young Rwandans have now graduated, and their stories are inspirational. I've been to that village twice, and I'm filled with pride to see how young Rwandans have learned to live again after the trauma of the past. Secondly, I was fortunate to have Shabbat dinner in Kigali with the newly appointed Israeli ambassador to Rwanda, Ron Adam. Yes, you heard me correctly. On the 1st of April, a brand new Israeli embassy was opened in Kigali, offering support to the East African nation, from health to education and culture, as well as communication technology, including cybersecurity. These two countries, both with histories largely defined by genocide, have very close ties. And of course, Ron Aron also has a connection to the Holocaust. His mother was on the famous Kastner train. My 4 visits to Rwanda had a profound impact on me. I saw that when there is hatred, prejudice and discrimination, we are destined to repeat the tragedies of the past. If we want to make a powerful case for the need to learn respect, to overcome racism, to work on the prevention of genocide, we must listen to the compelling voice of conscience that tells us clearly what the consequences are if we ignore the warnings from history. It is my fervent hope that the words "never again" will become an enduring reality, not only in Rwanda, but for our common humanity. I'd like to conclude with a reflection of the recent events that have happened across the globe, from Pittsburgh to San Diego, from Sri Lanka to Christchurch. Innocent people have lost their lives, and we are struggling to make sense of the loss. Maybe the answer is partially in this week's Parsha, Kedoshim, and its message of hope after horror. Kedoshim means holiness, and it follows after last week's Parsha, Acharei Mot. Acharei Mot means after death, and refers to the untimely death of 2 of Aaron's sons. Maybe the message is that after tragic deaths, we can and we must find meaning in the Kedoshah, in the sanctity of life, for the sake of the Kedoshim, the martyrs, and for the sake of the next generation. Kedoshim is filled with ethical rules on how to live a good life, and is the source of that most outstanding of mitzvot, love thy neighbour. In Poland and in Rwanda, most neighbours forgot how to love. We need to ensure that we teach about and reach out toward love. For as American author Thornton Wilder has put it, love is the only bridge between the living and the dead. The Holocaust is a paradigm that is instructive. It teaches us we cannot stand idly by. We can't be silent in the face of hatred and prejudice and bigotry. Michael Berenbaum, who was in Australia last year, told a wonderful little Hasidic tale at the end of his oration on Kristallnacht, and I'd like to share it with you. A Rebbe once taught that sometimes you yell at the world to change, but just make sure the world doesn't change you. We have to continue yelling at this world, and yelling louder and louder, and we have to exemplify the notion of compassion and justice and of tikkun olam. At a time where darkness threatens so many corners of this earth, perhaps more so in 2019 than in many decades, I urge you to keep yelling, to increase your commitment to tolerance, pluralism, social justice and human rights. Build connections and friendships, welcome the stranger, and create a more peaceful community. By working together, we can continue to gather those holy sparks and broken vessels and bring the light into our world. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, Issachar. Thank you, Sue. So my friends, I'd like to invite you to just take a moment for some silent reflection, some silent prayer. Maybe it's a memory of a story of a family member. Let us just take a few moments, and then we'll rise for the special Shoah Kaddish, and then head into Aleinu and the regular Kaddish of the Henry names. Let us turn to page 533 and let us rise. Yitgadal Auschwitz v'yitkadash Loch Shmei Rabbah Onar. בעלמא דברה חירותי
בביאה.
וימליך מלכותי
וידנק.
וחייכון וביומכון
ברכנה.
ובחיי לכל בית ישראל
כובנו.
בגלה ובזמן קריב
ונובסקה.
ואמרו אמן.
יהי שמי רבה וברך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה.
יתברך וישתבח
תרייזנשטח.
ויתפאר ויתרומם
בוכנבד.
ויתנשא ויתהדר
שבלינקה.
ויתעלה ויתהלל
וילנה.
שמי דקודשה בריחו
ברגן בילס.
לילה
מטאוזן.
מן כל ברכתה ושירתה
דחר.
תושבחתה ונחמתה
מינסק.
דאמירן בעלמא
ורשה.
ואמרו אמן. יהי שלום הרבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום למרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו amen. Remain standing as we turn forward in our prayer books to page 586. And we invite Sophie and James and Clementine to open our ark for us. Laura and Freddie can come up too. Shiva, Shloshim, and Yahrzeit. And then if you'd like to add anyone for memory, I'll invite you to do so. For the week of Shiva, we remember Paulina Gershenson, Rosa Moravia, Laurie Gilbert Kay was the woman who died in California in the attack, and of course all the lives so senselessly taken in the Sri Lanka terror attacks recently. Our hearts are with the victims and their families. And for the Shloshim, the 30 days, we remember Lorian Brown, Mari Davis, Sue Friedman, Cyril Holzman, John Kersner, Solomon Norman, Derek Prinsley, and Joyce Watson. And the Yahrzeits, anniversaries of whose death fall on this Shabbat, we remember Tiona Abrams, Morris Ackerman, Sarah Bando, Helen Berkowitz, George Coleman, Ronald Condy, Louis Eisfelder, Stephen Feldheim, Sylvia Finch, Berta Frey, Chaim Frey, Daniel Frey, Albert Grossbard, Felix Halpin, Walter Heine, Avner Kanatopsky, Katie Kluger, Michael Korbielnik, Stella Korbielnik, Miriam Lazaro, Chaim Lewin, Hannah Lewin, Felicia Lewin, Nathan Lewin, Sabina Lewin, Paul Stephen Nadler, Tony Opat, Anna Sarayski, Simon Sarayski, Basia Spiegelstein Grabman, Felix Spiegelstein, Jakob Spiegelstein, Julia Spiegelstein, Sevek Spiegelstein, Zadie Lurie, Basia Gatovsky, Greta Pierce, Alexander Rebelsky, Shmuel Ribolov, Fanny Schiff, Hans Spitz, Miriam Sward, Julius Turin, and Willie Wolf. If you'd like to remember the name of a loved one, I invite you to share their names at this moment.
My mother, Rachel Wasserman.
Zecher Tzadik Livracha, may the memory of the righteous be for blessing as we join together in one voice. This is our custom. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, v'yamad divrach kirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon of yom echon, v'chayed chol beit Yisrael, v'agalau v'zman kariv v'merur, Yahei shemei Rabbah v'barach l'olam l'amei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yika'ar v'yikramam v'yitnaseh, Vitadar, Vitale, Vitalal, Shemei Kudasha, Barihu, La'ela Mikor Bechata Vashirata, Tush Bechata Venechemata, Damiran Bialma, Vimaru. Yahei Shama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu V'yakol Yisrael, Ve'imru. Oseh Shalom Bimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu V'yakol Yisrael, Ve'imru. Hamakom Yenachem Etchem B'toch Sha'ah Havlei Tzion V'Yerushalayim. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, comfort to all who are bereaved, in Zion and Jerusalem and around the world, and we say, Amen. As we are seated, our President Rebecca Silk will make some announcements.
Thank you, Rabbi, and thank you, Ellie, Sharon, and Cantor Lalum for your liturgy. And welcome everyone, very warm welcome.
Ruach Community Choir.
Oh, thank you, Ruach Community Choir. I just asked. Thank you very much. The music was beautiful tonight. And welcome everyone, whether you have come here in commemoration, for Yahrzeit, to be together for Shabbat, and to pray in community. A very warm welcome from our Board of Governance. Please do join us for community dinner. This being the first Shabbat of the month, we will have community dinner directly after services. You are most welcome to join us in the Sloane Hall behind me after we've made Kiddush. And tomorrow we will have Shachrit as usual at 10 o'clock as we join the Shaw family as Gilbert becomes Bar Mitzvah. Then on Sunday, our Rosh Chodesh Women's Group will be gathering. And this month the topic is Women in Politics. We will look at some of the great Jewish women who have been in politics and talk about the experience of being a woman in political life. Do please see me or Rabbi Ettlinger for the venue for that. Coming up this week, many events are on your Kol Israel sheet. Please do feel free to take it home with you. I'll just mention a few highlights. On Thursday the 9th, this coming Thursday at 1:30, Cantor Lalum is beginning a course for pastoral care volunteers. This is an 8-week course. Volunteers who graduate from this program will support our TBI members in need. And there's no better way to participate and support our community than engaging in volunteering and pastoral care. Next Shabbat, Friday, May the 10th, as Rabbi Ettlinger has mentioned, we will have that as our Shabbat Atzmaut, and the new Shaliach for our progressive movement, Steffi Shalom, will be our guest speaker, and we will be celebrating Israel's Independence Day. On your way out, please do thank our security volunteers who have been keeping us safe, and then do join us for Kiddush and kindly return your books to the trolley. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Our final song this evening will be Eli, Eli. We are on page 653.
שלא ייגמר לעולם at the back of the hall, you will find the red is wine, the white is grape juice. In the middle is the nectar of Johnny Walker, and if you'd like to join us at the back of the hall for the words of the Kiddush and the Motzi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hadafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher gishan b'mitzvoto v'ratzavanu b'shuvat kodsho be'ahava u'chatzon hilhilanu zikaron le'maaseh bereishit yom zechira v'mikveh kodesh zecher yetziat Mitzrayim v'ivanu machata yotanu kinashta v'kol ba'arim Shabbat chodshecha be'ahava u'chatzon hilchatanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh
Shabbat L'chaim and the Motzi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat shalom and betavon. Betavon. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. For those staying for the community dinner, if you'll join us in the Sloan Hall, we'll begin with Kiddush, lighting the candles, Kiddush and Motzi in just a few moments. You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
So,
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharei, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Bohem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruni L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Tzedchem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shabbat Shalom and welcome everyone to our community dinner. Go ahead and Shabbat Shalom to this table and only this table. They always do. Thank you. To you as well. So we've got the Shabbat at Home booklets. Should be on most of the tables. I think there are a couple. You're welcome. And we're going to continue. We just sang Shalom Aleichem, and we are going to continue with our candle lighting. Can our community dinner volunteers please come and do our candle lighting? Those of you who volunteered for community dinner.
what happens if you were volunteered?
If you were volunteered, as long as you're volunteering. Would you like to represent the volunteers? Sure, that works. We sing together on page 3. Oh, that's done. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech
העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו